Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Alrighty, let's talk about what we're going to talk about today, because this is a needle mover. I promise you this is neat. I always say that, right? But it is. When we apply these things, it's a needle mover. What we have to understand about our brain is how much our brain hates any kind of change. Just like what I've told you about the amygdala, the part of your brain that says it's the fear center of your brain. It is the fear center of your brain. Well, the amygdala is scared of everything, first of all. And the amygdala also doesn't want you to change one tiny iota of a thing. It doesn't want you to do your hair different. It doesn't want you to brush your teeth differently. I mean, seriously, keep doing everything the same, because the amygdala said, this is what I like. And the amygdala tries to run the show. And the more we let the amygdala run the show, the more we're going to shrink and be tiny and small, stuck in a corner, nowhere to go, pitiful, not powerful, sad, not like Tigger, more like Eeyore. And that's what the amygdala's job is. But at least everything's the same, right? Everything is painted beige. It's all beige. So we don't want that, though. We don't want that. We don't want our brains to run. We don't want to let our amygdala run the show. We want the prefrontal cortex to run the show. This is the abstract thinker. This is the way where we get to extrapolate the information that's good and pro us. And this is where we get to say, you know, I need to dump that. That's no longer working for me. This is where all the big thinking goes. This is where the complexity of our thinking goes. And that's not to say that change has to be complex. It's saying that this is where we're able to think in multi-layers. Like, if I do this, then this is going to happen. If I do that, then this is going to happen. Or perhaps this, or perhaps that. Can you imagine? What about? It's creative, it's analytical, and it gives you the opportunity to create the life that you want to live. That's why we say we are the Daily Dish Show right here, right? We're helping you put vibrancy back into your everyday life, heart, mind, body, and soul. And the reason we say this is because the whole woman understands that she is dealing with all of herself, not just the one thing. Because, and I said this in Body Clutter, you know, I don't want to be, at my eulogy, I don't want somebody talking about the color of my lipstick or the size of the jeans that I wore. I want them to talk about the size of my heart, the size of my soul, how I served, what I've done. And we get to be those purposeful human beings when we make a decision to honor the whole self. That's why we talk about all these different subjects. Yeah, we want to get those jeans on, and yeah, we want to have the right color lipstick, right? But that isn't the, you know, the beginning and the end in the middle of who you are. It's just a portion. So let's address the whole woman so that we can get on with who we are. When we understand, by the way, a little bit of how our brain works and how it's trying to take over and why it does what it does, it gives us enough information to say, hold the phone. This is not going to happen. This is what I want in my life, not that. You follow? I know you do. But this to me is just, this is life. This is life. This is what changed my entire mind about everything. When I recognized that this is what my amygdala was doing, this was this tiny portion of my brain trying to run the whole show, and that I was wrong about so many things. I wasn't a victim unless I wanted to be one. I wasn't helpless unless I wanted to stay helpless. I wasn't pathetic if I wanted to choose powerful, and on it went. Because change is always a disruptor, always a disruptor. And it's how we respond to that disruption that determines our path, and it determines the trajectory of where we're going to be going in this life and what it is that we want and how we want to get there. This is the big stuff, you guys. This is the big, big stuff. Because, and we talked about this yesterday, you know, something's going to come and disrupt you. Something's going to come and interrupt, you know, what you're doing. Something's going to say, excuse me, you know, let me jump into your life. Let me throw up on your floor, or, you know, let me have the dishwasher explode, or some such thing. We have to be flexible with this thing. But overall, and to connect to yesterday's message, we have to connect to this whole idea that change is a coming, always. And how we react to it is going to completely change the trajectory of our lives if we make a decision that we can go with it. So very much like what we were talking about yesterday. I mean, look at where we are right now today. Look at where we are. It's, you know, we've had pandemic most of the year. We've had, I mean, there's been one crisis after the other, something to rock your world, something that you turn on the TV and you're just going like, just, you know, more of the same, just crazy town. And then hurricanes and floods and fires and fill in the blank. It's all there. But we always say this, blessed are the flexible. Blessed are the flexible, for they will not be broken. We cannot by any means live in the place of allowing this stuff to break us in half. Because at that point, fear wins. At that point, this disruptive change that comes in is more feared than it is revered. And not that we have to enjoy it, but we do need to embrace it because it is here. Nobody wants to embrace a pandemic. No one. But we need to know, how do we wisely handle this? What are the best, what are the best ways of handling this? What do we know? What are the facts? How do we get to this from here to there and to do it safely? We have to know those things. But we also need to know for ourselves that, you know, if there's a dishwasher issue, we can handle it. If a kid is throwing a fit in the middle of Target, we can handle it. If there's something happening in our lives, we have a job that goes off the rails, or your boss yells at you, or your computer breaks down, we can handle it. This is adapting to our circumstances. And sometimes it's a momentary circumstance, and sometimes it's a life change, you know? And I can think of a million of those. For example, if you were ever sitting in front of a doctor, you know, how many of you done that? You're sitting in front of a doctor's desk and the doctor said, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you've got fill in the blank. You've got cancer. You've got diabetes. You are insulin resistant. You've got all these inflammatory markers on your tests. This is what we're seeing on your x-ray. At that moment in time, your life completely changes. The first thing you have is this shock, like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? What am I going to do with this? But at that point, embracing that change and saying, okay, so what's next? That's the analytical part of our brains. That's this part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, that takes over, that is analytical, that solves the problem. That solves the problem as best they can. I mean, you know, you're not, we're not God, we're not omnipotent, but we can certainly get into the weeds with it and figure some things out, what to do next. That's always the next thing, you know, what to do next. So when the first thing that we have to do is we need to change our minds, don't we? We have to change our minds. When the amygdala flashes up and says, hey, danger, there's change ahead and I don't like it, let's just stay right here, you need to tell your amygdala to take a seat. You know, take a seat. The prefrontal cortex is handling this thing right now. Understand that we have command over our brains. When we decide, we have command over our brains. And when we understand what part of our brain is trying to put us into this place of fear, into this place of a corner, into this place of feeling this small, then we know this is how we need to act, react. We need to act in the place of, okay, so now what do I do? So what do I need to do now? Get over, you know, process, deal, find yourself in the place where, okay, That's scary. Okay, I don't know much about this. Okay, so this is happening. And now I need to go to the place of deciding how I'm going to handle all of this. That doesn't mean you're not going to cry. That doesn't mean you're not going to be upset. That doesn't mean you won't be hurt. That doesn't mean, there's so many things. There's so many things. I mean, I can tell you about women that I have counseled over these last 25 years. I've heard everything. Because oftentimes what happens, you know, you hear about their marriages or their not marriages, or you hear about health concerns, their kids' health concerns, what their children are doing, what, you know, like, and stuff that's just, you're going, whoa, I thought we were going to be talking about this thing. But we need, you know what? This is what goes hand in hand with life changes. When things happen to us, we have to be able to react to them on all levels of our lives. Because what happens if we don't? You guys know this. What happens if we don't? We fall back into old habit. So we feel huge discomfort. What do we want to do? We want to go comfort. What is it that we're going to do? Well, if we were 2 years old, we'd go suck our thumb with a blankie in the corner. Or at this place, you know what we do? We end up going for the comfort food. You know? Comfort food. Comfort food, usually full of inflammation, usually full of carbs, usually full of sugar, usually full of something that's not going to help us out at all. And it usually leads to an overeating or a binge or a something else like that. And here's what I know, that when we're doing this, when we're in this place of leaning back onto old comfort food, old comfort habits, or maybe, you know, it's biting your nails or having too much wine or binge watching Netflix or getting on the phone and talking for hours endlessly. What happens? What happens? We lose our place. Not only do we lose our place, we lose our brain for a minute, we lose our minds for a minute, and we're not really doing much of anything except putting it all on repeat because it doesn't solve anything. Now, I know that there was a big thing, you know, I remember this going through marriage counseling myself of, well, you know, men just want to solve problems right away and women want to feel them. And I say that's a big bunch of crap, by the way. I think it's a big bunch of hooey. You know what it is? It's different parts of the brain, and it's whatever part of that brain is dominant. Well, I'm here to tell you right now that that's nonsense, that at any point in time, we can make the decision and take the moment to say, take a seat, amygdala, take a seat. Because I'm going to go to this place of figuring this out. When we can start figuring things out and we can start doing this on our own, we don't need a man to come along and give us the solution because we're too emotional to figure it out. I mean, that you talk about sexism right there, that's crap. Total crap. And don't get me started on all this. You know, ageism and sexism is my two big things right now. Don't even. Just don't. You know, we're smart enough to figure these things out ourselves. And when we understand how our brains work, then we can manipulate them to our own advantage. Listen, this is your brain we're talking about. It's attached to you. You don't get to pull it out and put it on the sidelines. You live with it on the daily. So if that's the case, then it's time to train the brain. It's time to train it. We have, you know, you potty train your dogs and cats, right? You want that cat in the cat litter box. You want that dog going outside to do its business. Well, train your brain to sit down. Take a seat, amygdala. Take a seat. Enough out of you. We're not going to be fearful anymore. I understand you don't like change. Take a seat. And now you get to go to the prefrontal cortex and say, okay, here's where we are. Now what do we do? And I'm telling you this because that is empowering information. It is empowering information to know that your brain does work like that. It's empowering information for you to understand. You don't need to wait for some man to come along and fix you. You know, you don't. You've got this yourself. You are logical. You are solution oriented. You are smart. You are analytical. You do have the reasoning capability of being an abstract thinker. Yes, you do. So tap into that and know it's there. It's at the ready. Just bring it back. You know, Take a seat, amygdala. Now let's go figure this out. You know, you, me, prefrontal cortex. Let's get down to work. Isn't that such a cool piece of information? Use that, take it to the bank, and know it. So what are you going to do? Blessed are the flexible. Blessed are the flexible. Because number one, you can change your mind at any point. It's a power move when you change your mind like this. It's a power move when you tell your amygdala to take a seat and you say, we're going to get into the prefrontal cortex stuff and get into it and get her done, right? We have the power to do that. And then number two is we have got to let go of the if-onlys. The if-onlys put us in the corner. The if-onlys make us small. If only I didn't, or if only he said he loved me. You know, oh gosh, I hate this helpless woman business. That is a learned tactic that needs to go away forever and ever, amen. You know, we are equal to men, right? We are equal and just as smart as a man. So stop with this garbage. Stop with all this learned helplessness. Let it go, because you're smart, you're capable, you are able at every turn. You just need to learn how to use your brain right. So when we do this, you know, when we let go of the if-onlys and we recognize that it's always about choice. Choice, choice, choice all the way. Decision, decision, decision all the way. You know what? And we all are going to have some regrets in this life, all. Because we're not going to live it perfectly. We're going to do the very best that we can with the information that we have and with all the, you know, everything in front of us being analyzed. We do the best that we can. Is it always going to be the right answer? Is it? Maybe not. And we need to let go of maybe making a mistake. Because let me just tell you, we all have some kind of regret in this life. We always will. Something, not huge, not big, like, oh, I should have turned left instead of turning right. We all have them. It's part of it. But, you know, it's not like we're making Sophie's choice every day. You saw the movie, right? Sophie had to choose between which children, one was going to live and one was going to die. She had to choose. This is not what we're up against. What we're up against every single day is making choices. And sometimes they're going to be the right choices, and sometimes they're going to be the wrong choices. So what? If we learn from them and move on, we're that much better. We become that much better, and we become that much more excellent. Number three, remember who you are. Remember Star Wars? And Luke was feeling so depressed. I'm bringing in all the movies right now. And Luke's feeling really depressed, and he's feeling like, oh, I'm just, you know, I'm nothing. And he's hearing Yoda's voice. Remember who you are. You're a warrior. You are a woman on a mission, put here by God on purpose at this time for a reason. And you're here to discover that. You're here to discover that. We talked yesterday about the miracle of just the fact that you were born. So if this is the case, and we just start there, just start with birth and start working your way up from here to there, from here to there. You're here on purpose. Know who you are. Remember who you are. Created by God himself, fearfully and wonderfully made. Number four, go all in on the change you wish to become. You know, that just means that you're setting a time for yourself. You're setting schedules for yourself. You're setting different things up. And even when you don't want to do them, you still do them. Because what you're looking at is the bigger picture. And that bigger picture has a more vibrant you on that vision board, right? A more vibrant you. You adapt to your circumstances. Adaptability is the ability to change, to improve, and to improvise. Because sometimes we're going, okay, so I don't know these dance moves, so just move your groove thing. Just shake it like you mean it. Because we're always going to be in a place where we don't know what the whole calculated risk is about. We just don't. But moving forward and being adaptable and just saying, you know what, I'm just going to move it anyway. I was watching, speaking of movies, I was watching a movie where this was the very thing, and you know, suddenly the actress, I can't even remember the name of the movie, somebody is going to remember it. She's out there, she's dancing, and you know, she's all dressed up in like one of those Las Vegas showgirl costumes, and then she's in the back just trying to dance with everybody, and okay, now I guess we're kicking our legs. It was pretty funny, but that's us. We have to be that. We have to get in the chorus line and just kick like you mean it. You know, it doesn't matter. We just have to do it. And you know, your propensity to change and adapt is always going to bring new opportunities. Have you seen that? I have seen that on repeat over and over and over and over again. Every time I say, you know, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to put my nose down. I'm going to get busy. I'm going to, you know, here we go. Let's just do this. And guess what? Every single day gets a little bit better. And guess what? A new opportunity shows up. And guess what? The right people show up. And guess what? It's like God kisses every aspect of it. He does. You know, he is delighting in the fact that you aren't shrinking back. When you decide to make a decision to play full out in your life, embrace the change, and even when it is so disruptive, it's like he comes into your life and says, okay, I see you trust me. And here's another person that's going to help you. Here's another door I'm going to open for you. Oh, and here's the key for that one over there, the scary one that you never thought would get opened. I'm going to open that one too. This is what happens. And it's also a part of your brain function, by the way. It's your reticular activating system looking for evidence to support the things you're thinking about. So if you're thinking about crap, you're going to attract in the crap. Oh, here it goes. And then you'll say, and see, there it is. But what if you flipped your thinking? What if you flipped your circumstances? What if you said, I'm just going to do this anyway, and I'm going to expect different results because I'm doing something different, and then watch what happens. You're going to see so many serendipitous moments, so many interesting things that happen, and the people that come along. It is fabulous. Sarah just said it. It flips from if only to guess what? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Can I tell you how many times I have been the witness to that? And even in the midst of all of that, and you guys remember in May, when all of a sudden our supplements were all drying up and I was trying to work with a new manufacturer, everything was falling apart. I didn't have the money for it, but I took a credit card and said, game on, maxed out a credit card, a personal credit card to do this. And you know what? It worked. And I put everything that I had into it. And so did my team. We did it. We worked hard. We busted our butts. But you know what? It was worth every bit of it. Kept the business alive, we kept educating and bringing it back to you and helping you out, helping people to be better versions of themselves. It was worth every minute of it, but there was a minute where I was really pretty scared to death, in the middle of the night, scared. I would do it again and again and again. And what I have found, that doing these scary things, you know, not bungee jumping or jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. But what I've found is that when I do things like this, God comes right back and blesses me because he's saying, you're listening. He does that when we listen. So what do we need to do with this? I've got a couple of things, just 2 things for you. This is your alignment assignment. You need to prepare yourself a week in advance as you go. Prepare your day. What is your day going to look like? Prepare for the whole week. What does it look like on a weekly basis? Where are you losing your time? What are you not getting done? What needs to be filled in? You can use our time blocking sheet. I have that. It's a free resource that you can download, savyadinner.com/time. Download that and then find where you're losing all your time. Find where you're just unwilling to go to a certain place, because this is one of the things that I found. When we're unwilling to go someplace, when we're unwilling to make the change that we need to make, you know what happens? We get stuck in doing something else on our phones, watching Netflix, yada yada, doing anything on Pinterest, in social media, doing anything except that, avoiding that. And remember, we get our choice between 2 pains: the pain of regret, which is huge, or the pain of following through, which is just momentary. It goes that fast, you know? And you want to hear something funny? For me, the change of the hard thing for me is changing into my bike shorts and the shoes that I have. The shoes are these weird clip-on shoes. I've got them right here. I should show them to you. They're the weird clip-on shoes to get on the bike, you know. But so my overcoming is just like, how do I overcome this? Because I keep thinking I don't want to do, you know, it's too cold. And I'm sitting here in sweat, you know, sweats and mucklucks pretty much, and just usually a wool pashmina around me because I'm freezing. But you know what I do? I do a 10-minute warm up that's on the floor, and then I'm all warmed up, and then I change, and then I go do what the thing is that I needed to do. That's problem solving. That's from just saying, okay, so what's getting in the way here? And when we can get that analytical, we can figure it out. So then the last one is be open to new ideas. When you're open to new ideas, guess what happens? They show up, don't they? You suddenly think of something. Your creativity is fired up. What if? Can you imagine? Wouldn't it be great if? Those kind of questions help to open up some new thinking that you haven't had in a while. It gets the creativity going. And not only that, again, reticular activating system, searching for evidence to support this new idea, it'll show up. Honest, hand to God. It does all the time. So there you go, you guys. You know, start visualizing your outcome when you have something like this, when you're doing the change. Visualize what that outcome is. If it's getting into doing the exercise every single day and being consistent, start visualizing, what is that going to look like? Well, in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, you're going to look completely different. You're going to feel completely different. Start visualizing that instead of the thing that you're doing when you're, you know, thinking about not doing it. And understand, yeah, change is a disruptor, but it's a disruptor for you. It's a disruptor of a life not well lived, but to get you to the place of a life well lived. That's what change does. You ready for that? I am. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.